Today we have the Virgil Abloh of the Central Belt dialing in, Jock Rintoul, founder and owner of Collection 26 Glasgow. How are we, champ?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. How's you?
I'm amazing, mate. I've been looking forward to this for a very long time. Besides getting to know you more personally, because I've been supporting the brand for maybe 2+ years and we've been going back and forth for the DMs. What I want to get out of this podcast today is just how to start a clothing brand or a side hustle. Do you think we can achieve this, mate?
Yeah, definitely.
Smashed it.
It's easy. I've got the keys. Do you know what I mean? I'll show you how.
So I guess the first question is, who is Jock Rintoul today in 2020 and what is Collection 26 Glasgow?
It's a tough one. I think no. First of all, Collection 26, that's an easier one to answer. That is ultimately community based. So I like to say it's ultimately a product of the community. It's everyone's sort of support, everyone's input that helps us come up with what's coming out next. And overall, like I hate the word vibe, but you know what I mean, like what our sort of ethos is almost, is basically what gets put in by all our customers, if that makes sense.
I love it.
That's what I like to think. I think it's hard to define a brand that's yours as well. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like my baby at the same time. I've raised it, I've nurtured it, it's off into the world when people buy it. Who is Jock? That's a tough one as well. You could say I'm like a graduate. I work in investment banking, just doing operations, but I'm not on Wall Street. Or you could say I'm like the entrepreneur who's selling clothes, or I'm just a normal guy, idiot, just cutting about in his corsage, you know what I mean, hoping for the best, doing my best. So it's a tough one, but yeah, whatever you want.
Such a humble intro, mate. So I guess what's the history of Collection 26? Where was the seed of the clothing brand planted?
Cool. So throughout sort of going into uni first year, we did these sort of challenges in the enterprise class, and you had to come up with businesses and try and make a bit of profit. So I started doing that and sort of shipping stuff in from China and then selling it on eBay, and that was quite good. And then I seen there sort of opportunities to resell streetwear, which is something I hate people who resell, but I was caught doing it. I mean, like you just get caught up in it. And then I realised that that's, like I said, like it's not really a business anymore. Like you're just reselling somebody else's clothes. It's like, fair enough, people do it, people make a lot of money off it, but I wanted to then develop my own brand and sort of take that. So sort of built up not a reputation, but almost like a voice in the community. And then put out my own sort of t-shirts and hoodies, and it just kind of grew legs and ran for there. Do you know what I mean?
I love it. So I guess, did you want to create a product that didn't already exist? Because you started, what year was it? 2017, 18?
2017, yeah, it's 3 years now.
So
And then 4 years in February. So yeah, 2017.
Happy anniversary.
Scary.
Been married to the game.
It's pretty scary, isn't it?
It
I
is,
don't
mate.
like thinking about that.
It is, mate.
Nah, so did I create something that didn't exist? Kind of. I didn't like that I was walking about with clothes on. It was like Supreme New York, Palace London. It was like all these places which I'd never sort of been to at that point, and it's not something that I particularly resonated with me. So when I made Collection 26, I made sure to include the Glasgow part at the end, because I felt like not even just in Glasgow but Scotland as a whole, we didn't have a brand that kind of represented us. And I think we are quite different in that things are always a bit duller up here. That makes sense. We're not as loud with the brands or the logos, and there's definitely a space in that sort of streetwear area where I could sort of edge my way in, but also bring something new to the market.
I love it. I guess you were inspired by the likes of Supreme, but you didn't resonate with it. So who, besides Supreme, who does inspire you?
Who inspires me? So at the moment, I really like what the Hundreds have done. There's a brand that like I didn't really wear growing up, and then I read Bobby Hundred's book about sort of starting the hundreds, and he talks a lot about community, and that's kind of what I tried to do with Collection 26 without realising it. So when you start to read their story, you see almost like a similarity of what I've tried to do, but he's put it into writing and like made it an actual business plan. So that made sense to me. And since then, I've sort of looked at a lot of their designs, and they never release anything unless it's got like a narrative behind it, which is something that I really thinks, I don't know, it's not so much you're buying a t-shirt, it's almost like you're buying like the art, and that just happens to be on the t-shirt. So that inspires me, and that's something that I've been trying to sort of push into Collection 26 to an extent. And then you've got just other people doing bits in general. You've got Daniel Arsham, sort of followed him for a few years now. Fully rate everything he puts out. I'd love to try and do something similar to his artwork. But on a local level as well, there's people that inspire me, like just about Glasgow. There's brands like Dynamite 24, like they've got people like support them all the time, tag them on Instagram, like they get more shout outs than me, and my brand's got like about 10 times the followers. It's ridiculous. Like, and I wish I had that kind of support, so that inspires me. You've got Chris at Lunch Glasgow, like that's a cafe, but for some reason it's got like hundreds more followers. It's ridiculous, and that's again, he's built like a community there, and I think that is like the best marketing power at the moment is community.
Especially during lockdown, mate.
Yeah, exactly.
I think like, that's what people crave. People crave community or reassurance or a sense of belonging when they're so disconnected from everything else.
Yeah, that's how retail's going. It's either like an experience or a community, and if you can sort of try get both, then you've smashed it.
I love that, mate. That is so insightful. So I know you market the brand through the kind of traditional sales funnels of like sponsored posts, but that's not like I don't think it's your main source of marketing. You attend pop-up markets and collab with rappers, and I guess your clothes themselves is almost a marketing ploy.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, like the t-shirt is like, that's why people buy a t-shirt with a brand on it. It's almost like a walking billboard. As bad as that sounds sometimes if you're anti-capitalism, do you know what I mean? But that is the case. Like people see other people wearing it, word of mouth. People tagging each other in my new designs and stuff like that. That's the marketing that I want to do. It's organic. It's not forced. It's never pushed. But then there's also that element of you need to sort of keep up with everyone else and smash out Instagram ads and Facebook ads and stuff like that as much as you can.
I love it, mate. How much of your brand is built on feedback and built on what other people want to wear? Do you still create as if you're the only customer?
To an extent. I don't know. I'm not always the best at taking on what other people want to wear. Sometimes I think people don't know what they want to wear. Like, I don't even know what I want to wear most days. But I sort of learned this year to almost let go a wee bit. It was holding us back. In terms of like me being the only one designing clothes, coming up with ideas. So I've now got my man Connell. He basically comes to me with a lot of designs most of the time. He almost knows what I want before I want it at the moment. He's really good, and I'll take on sort of feedback for like Danielle and stuff like that, like my girlfriend. And then just generally, like people on Instagram message me and say like, "Oh, I would love to see this," and then I like the idea, I'll kind of explore it. But there's an overriding, like it's definitely, if I wouldn't wear it, I wouldn't put it out at the same time.
I love it. So how does one teenager or student start? Do you mock up designs yourself, then send this to an embroiderer or manufacturer, or is it more of a series of accidents?
Bit of both. The sort of process for coming out with your first launch would be, well, for me it was, I sort of drew roughly what I wanted. I had an idea, and then you need to find somebody who can put that into like a graphic, basically, or you learn yourself. But I didn't have time for that nor the skills at all. So I found somebody else who could kind of mock it up, and then I sent it off to like a place that does. People always struggle to find somewhere that can do like a one piece, but literally just go to people that make like uniforms and workwear. They've all got the embroidery machines. They'll do a t-shirt for you. Do you know what I mean? Send that off to one of those companies. They'll do a 101, and then that's you. Like you've got it. Like once it's on a t-shirt, that's a brand, and just launch it and sell it on pre-order or something. That's what I did, and it just kind of took off there. I think people overcomplicate the process.
Do you still have that business model that's kind of like, I don't want to say drop shipping, but like it's kind of
to an extent, yeah. If it's a design that I'm not sure about, or if it's like a certain colour, or it's like you're wearing the t-shirt there, it's a lot of stitches, so it's expensive. You're talking, I don't want to give away all my pricing and costs, but you can be up to like £15 a piece, just like on embroidery, never mind like the blanks for the t-shirts or that, to get that done. Just because that'll take about an hour and a half in the embroidery machine, do you know what I mean? And it is very work intensive. So with that kind of thing, I don't want to get hundreds of them made up in case you don't sell them. Can't take that risk.
Yeah, I like that. You often see clothing brands being created and started from home, like the home kind of kits, but that kind
Mhm.
of lack quality. Like I'm wearing Collection 26 right now. It's really good quality stuff. Is there a reason behind the high quality and the nice fit?
Fit took us long enough to find. See that fit, it's hard to get. People always struggle to find like what blanks to use first. That is just a scenario of like try this one. If you don't like it, bin it. Try this one, don't like it, bin it. That kind of thing until you eventually find one. But once you find it, hold on to it. Do you know what I mean? Don't mess about. And that's your goal. But yeah, it's kind of tough. I don't think that I don't know. I don't want to put people down, but I think if you're trying to start your brand yourself and like you're going to do the embroidery, you're going to do the printing, and you're going to have all the blanks as well. Like you're not even going to be scraping like half a minimum wage by the time you've sold the t-shirt. You know what I mean? It's not
Yeah,
worth it. You're better just to leave some stuff to the professionals.
I love it. I mean, you recently embarked on a fitness journey, and I guess the fitness clothing market is quite oversaturated. You ever pondered with the idea of starting a gym brand or doing like
I've
Collection
thought about
26
it.
fitness?
Yeah, nah, I've thought about it. It's definitely like it's a market, and I think there's still a lot of space in it. I think a lot of the gym clothes at the moment are like it's literally the exact same. It's almost like the way that like normal clothes are getting, and that's how streetwear kind of managed to edge into a more like a mainstream. Gym clothes are all the same, aren't they? Like you could literally go in and be like, "Oh, Gymshark, Nike," and there's no difference.
It's all
There's
either like
definitely a
tech,
space there.
yeah, it's all either like tech pack stuff or like stringers and vests.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like there's definitely a market there. I've not got the time to explore it. If somebody does, I'd say go for it. I think it's very easy to say like don't start a fitness brand, but it's easy to say don't start a streetwear brand as well. Do you know what I mean? But there's always going to be space, and there's like such a large market out there that you can definitely always carve a wee niche. Do you know what I
Mhm.
mean?
What does your team look like now? Do you still have full creative control and full logistics and operations control? And how do you manage that on top of your investment banking grad job?
Yeah, so I'm bad at giving up control. Um, that's something I've had to work on a lot this year because the brand's sort of exploded from, I think at the start of the year we had 20,000 followers, now it's 55 edging on. So it has sort of exploded, and along that line, I've had to sort of give up a lot of control very fast. In terms of my team, I've got Daniel who helps me out sometimes. Um, I've got my wee brother, and sometimes my mum as well. I'm sure they do my posting for me, so I'll basically get a couple stock delivered here and get it shot, and then I'll send the boxes and stuff like that over to my mum's, and they'll ship out for me. Luckily, he's been furloughed. Not unluckily for him, but it's worked out for me. So he's got a lot of time to sort of just do the posting and stuff like that for me. So that's been ideal. And then obviously I've got Connell, who's like my graphic designer guy. And then I've sort of started to reach out and work on collaborations with people, and get them to design some bits for me and get that released. So the team's sort of growing, but I'd say that I'm still very much like at the centre of it and retain control. And I should probably give up more control, but it's tough.
I can imagine, especially when you've been so heavily involved since 2017 and it's only ever been you and like you said it's your baby. What would you attribute the 2020 growth to from 20k followers to 54k?
I think, what do you mean? Like, oh, well,
What was the
everyone being
catalyst
locked
behind it?
inside
Yeah.
worked out for me. Yeah, everyone's not allowed to leave, so I think everyone's been on their phone, and my Instagram ad just jumped in terms of reach and engagement. There was like such a noticeable difference the minute we went in lockdown. I had a really tricky first 2 weeks where I didn't sell anything, and I thought game over. And then it just sort of seemed to explode from there. But at that, I made sure I released something every single week when we were in lockdown, and just fully basically seen that opportunity. It's almost like a captive audience, and just kept chucking stuff at them until they followed or bought something. Or, do you know what I mean?
How much of going back to the creative control, how much of your limited willingness to give up creative control is on financial dependency? And what I mean by that is How financially dependent are you on the brand? I'm assuming not much at all, or if any.
Nah, like so. I used to not really take anything. I used to never pay myself ever from the brand, and it all just get reinvested. And that's kind of what you need to do when you first grow it. Up until about this year, really, we sort of hit VAT thresholds and stuff like that. So I've had to take on accountants, and then I think they're kind of like, "Why are you not paying yourself?" Do you know what I mean? But luckily, like obviously I've got my grad job, so it's sort of I'm all right to just tick on and pretend that doesn't exist. But this year I've sort of taken some out and I've thought, right, I want this much money sat here in this ISA account, just let it grow, and I'll get it when I'm 50. Do you know what I mean? Is the thinking. So I still almost don't touch it, but it's out of business now. But I don't. There's nothing that would, if the business collapsed, like I wouldn't lose my house. Do you know what I mean? But at the same time, I think it's getting to a stage where I could sort of start to depend on it a bit more. But I don't know. I'll need to see how it goes. It's a tricky one.
I can imagine. So, as a young 23-year-old man, how do you reward yourself? What are the fruits of your labor? I guess we live in a world on social media where everyone's an entrepreneur and everyone's got a Mercedes AMG, but you're humble. You don't share your successes or your financial presence from the brand. But how do you treat yourself?
How do I treat myself? I don't know. Sometimes I'll go a different. I don't know. I think you're right in what you're saying. Like everyone's like, it's like if you've got your own business, in order to be successful, it's not about how many sales you're making. It's about what car you drive at the moment, which is wrong. You don't know how long that money's going to be there for, if that makes sense. So the way I do it is I just save as much as I can, and my treats will literally be like a kebab 1 month or something like that. Or like I don't know, it's stupid, isn't it? Like I bought myself a watch, but again, like I think that was that's almost like it's not going to drop in value. So instead of putting it in a savings account, I'll put it into a watch, and then that's that.
When he
But
says
I've
watch,
not
he
really
means a Rolex from, did you say 1960s with diamonds in it?
something like that. It's like a it's like a sort of older Rolex. I'm very happy with it, but again, like that'll be with us for the rest of my life. So I don't really see that as. I think how like going out and leasing a car like that's temporary. Going out and buying like a Louis bag or something like that, it's going to be in fashion for like what 5 years, and then they won't some anymore, and then it'll come back in 25 years. You know what I mean? But I think it's quite important to just you're making like what I'm making right now is not really. I don't think it's sustainable. So I just make sure to kind of save as much as I can. My rewards are minor. It's like a kebab, maybe a double cheeseburger, maybe a few drinks, but
I'm not,
I
I'm not
don't
trying to be
really
PT, mate.
go. That's not I know, but I don't really go wild or that. I don't material things. Once you've almost got the ability to buy the material things that people are buying, you think, what's the point? Do you know what I mean? Are you trying to prove anything to?
Yeah. So I'm guessing your reward is the process, not what the process buys you. Do you still have fun with it?
Yeah, definitely. Like, yeah, you're right. Actually, the reward is like I get so much more of a buzz when somebody just buys a T-shirt. Like you get the wee notification that says somebody spent this much at your store. It's sick. Like that's the buzz. Like that's the effort. And there's been months where it's been going that well that you almost become used to it, and then you almost need like a tricky week or something to bring it back to you, like how important your customers are. If that makes any sense, and like that's the real reward. Is people tagging us on Instagram, people engaging. Like it's crazy.
Do you ever walk past someone in the street and see them wearing Collection 26?
Well, um, first sort of adventure out after a lockdown ended, and it was the out to help out. So I was like, right, we'll go to a restaurant down here. We were walking about, and there was somebody sitting outside in Weatherspoons and one of the hoodies, and I just kind of looked at him like, oh, do you know what I mean? Like, I didn't even say anything. I wish I'd said to him, but he's just pals, and I almost get nervous myself, like that. Oh, there's somebody on my clothes. It's strange. It was like back in primary school when you fancied a girl or something. Do you know what I mean? It was really weird. And I've seen seen it at uni sometimes, people in the library, but I felt like that didn't count because normally it was somebody who knew you, and they already
Hmm.
knew who you were. But it was weird seeing like a outright stranger. I was kind of like, oh, weird.
I wonder what that reaction would have been like if you went up to them and said, "Oh, you know what? I own that brand." Like,
Yeah, exactly.
I
Like,
think in Scotland, someone would be like, "In what?"
aye, that's the thing. Like, nobody cares. It's almost like unless they actually know me, it's just weird, isn't it? I
Yeah.
don't know.
So
Yeah.
at what point did you know that the brand really kicked off, or you were, I don't want to say making it, but like that this brand is a vehicle and this is quite substantial? Was there a pivotal point?
There was a sort of point where, and it wasn't a celebration. It was sort of over lockdown. Now I was like, well, there's all these sort of companies failing and doing really poor, and I'm for some reason like shipping out more than I've ever shipped before. And then looking at the financials, I was I'm going to need to get an accountant before I get locked up. And then that was when I was like, wait a minute, like I've actually made a company here. This isn't a hobby anymore. Do you know what I mean? This has become a business, and that was kind of the moment, but it was more like a stress moment than a celebration.
Hmm. Did the fun bleed out at that point when you realised it wasn't just
Yeah,
Jock
yeah,
Rintoul in his bedroom selling the?
no, definitely. Like we had a really tough. I would say I had a really tough 6 weeks. Like lockdown was bad enough. Never mind. Like there was a lot of stress involved. There was more orders than ever, and I didn't have the right processes in place to get those sort of produced fast enough and get them out to people fast enough. So I was getting a lot of messages from people saying, um, like where's my hoodie? I'm still waiting on it, and I'm like, I'm trying my best. So I can only stitch so many at once, but I should have just stopped the sales. But again, like I was almost, you see, get a bit of greed in your eye and you can't help it. But nah, it's like up all night, sleepless nights, just worried, stressed, and then I kind of needed to take a step back, just take everything offline for a week, put some processes in place. And once you do that, it was all good. And now I feel like I'm in a really good place and I've got a healthy relationship with the business. Whereas before it was almost becoming like a big scary monster that I was hiding from. Do you know what I mean?
I think that happens to a lot of people, and I don't know firsthand, but sometimes the brand does outgrow you. And
Mm-hmm.
I've seen like things. I'm not going to use Gymshark because I know Ben Francis still has control, but there's organizations, for example, Reebok, Joe Foster, the guy that founded that. I think it comes to a point where the brand outgrows you, and you need to appoint someone who is a CEO, not like an Instagram
Yeah,
CEO, like a real executive.
like
And then,
somebody who knows business. Yeah,
do you think you're
it's
at near
scary.
that stage where you need to devolve some power to other people or get some strategic oversight?
No, maybe. I don't know. I still feel like I'm the guy. I think that without me being in charge of the brand, it would kind of be lost. Um,
Hmm.
but I think that I reached that point, but I almost stepped into those shoes myself. Sort of around August time, I thought, right, we need to do this properly if we're going to do it. And that was when it kind of kicked in. And then I've managed to, from that, but me doing that, I've had to then get people to do my posting, people to do my designs and stuff like that, and learn to get other jobs done. And my accountant's really good. I talked to him about that kind of thing, and he's put it in a perspective of like, get as much of these tasks out of the way that you can train somebody else to do. And if I focus on the business, then I'll be able to actually grow it and put the effort in, rather than spending more time writing out parcels. And now I'm actually thinking about what's my next moves.
I agree, mate. I think you are the creative spearhead behind the brand, and even your mission statement inspires me just to kind of not have a brand but have a purpose, and people buy the purpose, not the brand. I absolutely love that. Do you think there's going to be a time soon, or have you ever approached like a management consultant or a business consultant to take it to the next level?
No, I don't. No, I haven't ever sort of. I've I've talked to like Business Gateway and stuff like that, but they've never sort of got the picture. I've talked to back when I was at uni. I used to talk to the sort of business advisors at the uni, and again, I felt like they didn't get the picture, and I was better just doing it myself. And that almost that's put me off working with like branding people or working with, sort of like what you said, management consultants. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that it's not something that I'd kind of dive back into until maybe as the brand is starting to struggle, I'd think about it. But as long as things are still on the smooth, I think I'm still quite happy just kicking up myself. And I've kind of got that vision anyway, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. So when you implemented the processes, when you got to that pivotal point, did you have to reset? Did you hit the ground running with no research behind the processes, or did you have to, I don't know, do some research, read a book? Was it planned, strategic, or
Uh,
was it just I need to do something now, or else it's going to outgrow me?
yeah, it was no, it was a bit of like I need to do something now. But I think you can learn a lot from reading about other businesses and seeing what they've done and the mistakes that they made. So again, like Bobby Hundred's book's really good. I've went back to that so many times over the past few months. I've got it in an audio book and I just repeat it over and over. Basically, they've got the sort of same problems that I'm facing at the moment when they were setting up early, and then you can just read case studies of other brands that have did things wrong and make sure that you don't make those mistakes. And there's a lot of value just looking into history, rather like to then take yourself ahead. If that makes sense.
Definitely, mate. How aware is your day job, Morgan Stanley, or your investment banking job? How aware are they of the brand and what you do out with your 9 to 5?
Yeah, no, you need to sort of declare like outside shareholdings and stuff like that. So I guess because I'm like the main shareholder, Clutch 26, they've declared that. I think that they know I've got a few of them on Instagram and stuff like that, so they get to see it sort of all the behind the scenes. And I think they're a bit shook themselves, but overall, like they're like it's a good job and role in that I can almost separate myself as well. Nobody talks about it, which is nice for me because I take to go in and just get asked about my t-shirts all day when I'm trying to do my spreadsheets. Do you know what I mean? And I don't know, I think they know what's there, but nobody knows like the sort of size and scale as well, not how many units you're pushing. But I don't think anyone does because I like to keep that kind of quiet, and to be honest, this is the only time that I've really opened up about it. Do you know what I mean?
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that it's almost like a bit cringe sometimes when you see brands like, oh, we've sold out, and oh, we've just shipped out 50 bits in a day. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's what he's up to. Like, nobody cares. Like, the people who've bought it care because they want their shipment, but nobody else cares. But I've got better at kind of sharing that. Like Black Friday, we had a madness, and I was like, right, I'll put this online, see what happens. But I'd hate for people to think I'm almost like flexing on them, if that makes sense. Like, that's not what I'm trying to do. It's more like share my success because everyone who's seen this is part of the success.
Yeah, no, no, no. I don't think you've ever given off that message. It's always like I'm sharing the process. This is what it takes. I think.
Yeah.
How many hours would you attribute to Collection 26 a week? Do you think?
To be honest, it's not that much. I don't know. It's a lot of hours thinking, and there's not too many hours doing. To be honest, maybe um 4 hours over the weekend. If it's a drop weekend, it'll be the full six, 3 hours each day kind of thing. But normally you can do most of it in 4 hours, and then during the week you're probably talking about an hour a night, just sort of replying to messages and stuff. So now I've said out loud it's about 15 hours a week, which is quite a lot, but it doesn't feel like a lot because it's like a passion, a hobby. I'd rather be doing that than like playing Xbox. You know what I mean?
Exactly, mate. But I bet you it's not just 15 hours a week. It's probably 24/7 because it's always
Yeah,
on your.
no,
You have
it's,
these
yeah, yeah. Oh,
you
it's
have these
always good.
ruminating
Yeah,
ideas and ruminating thoughts all the time.
yeah, no, it's actually, to be honest, it's, I don't know. In terms of hours that I try to set aside, that's what I try and do, but it is always bouncing about in your head, and it's always buzzing your phone as well. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of hard to get away. Don't really get that escape. It's basically a full-time job. I'm going on holiday soon, hopefully, and I'm a bit paranoid about leaving it, but
Where are you
we'll be
off to?
fine. Yeah, well, it depends whether they let me in. Nah, maybe going to Bali in January, which would be nice if we get let in, but they're not letting tourists in for the year, and then they're going to review it, so we might just make it. And then we were thinking Tenerife and stuff, but all this has came about the EU not letting us in, so I don't know, possibly Dubai now. I just need away, need
Me
the
too.
sun. Do you know what I mean?
So does that mean Collection 26 speedos are on the cards for the holidays?
Well, I imagine. Might be. Nah, not
um,
yet.
I guess. Do you ever become so? As you know, I'm into self development, and that's my kind of thing now. And
Yeah.
one of my favorite books is Getting Things Done by David Allen. And we were speaking about how much real time and comparison to how much thought time is behind the brand. One of the things he says is that you should only think the same thought once. Anything you think more than once should be a happy thought, like a happy memory. You should externalize everything or action everything. Do you have any processes in place to stop, for example, being at work and having these ruminating thoughts of ideas? Oh, I've got to ship tonight, but then I've got 15 emails to reply to. Or do you just cram it all in your brain and hope for the best?
No, it kind of stays there, to be honest. But now that you've said that, I might read that book. That sounds like the kind of thing that I should be doing. But again, like that's me. Just it feels like you're snowed under sometimes, and you're trying to get out, but there's more snow falling on you. If that makes any sense, I've made that up. But
I, I have an
it's kind
analogy
of
for
hard
that.
to get out.
I call
Go
it
for it.
post-it note rain. It's just like post-it notes trickling down your brain all day, and you're trying
Yeah,
to clutch at them
basically.
and action them.
Yeah, 100%, and they'll collect up and suffocate you at the end.
Let me share with you a tool that I've got. It's an Excel spreadsheet that has a 9 to 5 in boxes, and then literally below it, it's a list of actionable thoughts, and you list all the actionable thoughts so you don't have to think about them again. And then you tie each
Yeah,
actionable thought to a 30-minute window, and you just tick and bash and do them.
I quite like that idea. That's the sort of thing I should be doing. It's like I've got a day off work tomorrow and I've wrote a list, but again, it's like number one, Clutch 26, and then number two, gym. But I've not actually said what needs done. It's something I need to get to grips with. It's a process again I need to develop and start using, isn't it?
I'll make sure to send it to you. Like it's not just changed my productivity, but just changed my mood, especially non-actionable thoughts. I write them. There's a section for that. So see if you're like, oh, I've got an MOT in 3 months. Like you can't really do anything about that now, but it
Yeah,
ruminates in your brain. Or I've got my dad's birthday next month, but it's too early to
yeah, no,
action it. But if you just
100%. That's how it
externalize it
feels
somewhere,
just now with Christmas. It's like you've got a Christmas side of your brain, all these things you need to do for that, and then you've got your business side, which is probably 80% of it. But I know what you mean. It'd be good to write everything down. Actually, it's probably
so
a
do you
tool
ever
that I should have.
become do you ever become overwhelmed or consumed by it to the point where you just almost want to not give up, but just run away, have a taste of freedom without a taste of life without the brand, just for a
Yeah,
week or two?
to be honest, like there's a few times where we've had like huge releases and it's gone down amazing, and you sort of just look at it sitting in the account and you think I'd be quite happy just to kind of call it quits here. No more stress. That can just sit in an ISO and whatever, can retire early and like just never think about it again. Just work a 9 to 5, or you'll have other days where you're like, let's smash it, let's get everything, let's not leave anything on the table. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, back to your point, I think that you do have days where you just think, oh, not today, just leave it out. Like, I don't know, you're on holiday and you're still thinking about what's happening back in like a spare bedroom somewhere, t-shirts getting shipped. Do you know what I mean? It's just stupid. And there's nothing you can even do about it, but you're still sort of running about. It does take over your life. You just need to make sure that I'm on top of it. I
Yeah.
don't, I've rambled a bit there, right? But you know what I mean?
hmm What do you think the potential for Collection 26 is? Do you ever see it as this massive, massive enterprise, this conglomerate?
I don't know. I like to think so, but at the same time, it's not really. But I've always kept my feet kind of firmly on the ground with the brand, and anything that's kind of came and any growth we get is actually more. I almost surprised myself with it, if that makes sense. Like this year, smashing it out and hitting sort of almost 55,000 was crazy. My goal at the start of the year was to get to like maybe 30,000 followers. So it kind of just runs away from me sometimes, and I have to catch it again and almost like reassess where I see it going and reassess the goals. So at the moment, asking that question, like I don't think the brand would be where it is at the moment. So I find it almost impossible to think like in a few years' time or that. It's almost too hard to say where it's going to be. I always think
Mhm.
it's just going to be the same as it is.
What's your sales been like in comparison to what's your year one figures and then today's figures in terms of you can either testify this in the number of units or in financials, however you feel more comfortable, or both.
No, I'll give you a sort of rough guide. I guess anyone that's listened to this so far, I guess it's cool. No,
And
so
it's not for
first
you to
year,
it's not for you to
no,
brag,
it's
it's for
cool.
you
It's
to show
yeah,
what it's capable.
explain the growth. Yeah, no. So the first year we did. First year it took us 6 months to do £1,000. So that kind of puts it into a wee bit, and then from June in the past 6 months we've did 115,000. So I know
Wow.
it's a bit scary, isn't it? Excluding
Wow.
excluding like excluding the sort of gains we've made between, like there was a crazy month in May as well when we first dropped a bunch of stuff and that was wild. But we are talking like, I don't know, it's just scary. Like I don't really like think about it. I just put it away out of my mind. So you could get caught up
Wow.
in that kind of thing and you could let that run away with you if that makes sense. But it's not all. It's different things you need to pay for now. Do you know what I mean? It's not So I made that first £1,000, that was like most of it was in my bank and I was having a great day. But with that money, it's like 20% goes straight away VAT, corporate tax 20%. Do you know what I mean? You end up with pittance and you're thinking, what am I doing? What's this for? But no, that's the kind of scale of the growth that we're talking about, and that's wild. I think.
I think my reaction to that is going to be the podcast trailer. That blew me away. I knew you were. I knew the brand was bossing it. I could kind of work that mental model or mental calculation in my brain. But hats off to you, mate. You deserve all the success. Like I said, I've been a fan of the brand since I was first introduced to it. I don't know if it was through another creative. I kind of grew up in Ayr with like Walled Garden and like Bems.
Yeah,
So I'm
it's
not sure if
probably would have been Walled Garden would have probably been a pop-up shop, I think, and then they've probably been there because they're sick. Like, they put in so much effort to their bits. You know what I mean? I always think it's so creative and it's also like really raw. And I almost envy that that is almost like so homegrown. Whereas I feel like a lot of mine is now, it's like these are getting done down in Manchester and this is getting done somewhere else. It almost feels like it's lost that connection to the roots to an extent. But that's probably me feeling that more than what people see. But I think that in my head, I'd like it all to be done in Glasgow, but it's not feasible for me.
So as you said, from 2017, making £1,000 in revenue in 6 months, and now in the same kind of period in 2020, it's 100k plus. And you've went from when I've started witnessing the brand from sub 10k to 50k. How does logistics, manufacturing, distribution, all that good stuff, how does that change in terms of that trajectory of linear progression?
Yeah, true. Manufacturing's, I don't know, it's still kind of similar in the way that we do it. I just do it on a sort of bigger scale now. So there's just a lot more embroidery machines going at once and a lot more blanks coming in at once rather than like, I don't know, some brands are set up in like Portugal and stuff, and there's some really good factories out there that do your cut and sew. But again, like I've not got time to fly to Portugal, and again, that's my control problems coming in again. Like I don't know what's going on over there, whereas at least for this place, if something happened, I could drive down and see them. And then in terms of like the post office, they're pretty good. I've got my guy there, Colin, and Kevin. They just go and drop off bags, and they'll post them out all day. I know that you can set up again, like there's better, like more efficient ways of doing that, where you get DPD to come to your house and you print off all the labels. But I like the way that I've sort of got it set up, and it suits me, and it's a very sort of good relationship that I've got with them, and it's valuable to me. So I don't really look to like outsource that anywhere else. And then in terms of like my workload, it's just piling up, and it's a case of just letting go sometimes.
Do you know what it probably is, Jock? And this is probably from the outside looking in. I know you don't obviously pay the post office workers, but that part of the process of you writing out the labels and taking it to the post office and having that conversation with the guys that you know so well, you always probably see that as not your employees, but it's part of the process you probably enjoy, and that's why you don't want to give it up, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I don't like the idea of taking that not away from them as if like their business is going to collapse, but I know how important that is to them to have like Collection 26, and they do everything to like the best standard. Like Royal Mail is the best, in my opinion, like postage that you could get. Like if somebody sends something here, me, you're not sure if it's showing up the bush. Do you know what I mean?
It's almost an indication of quality, I think, because Royal Mail's been around for years. Another question I have for you, Jock: do you struggle with imposter syndrome?
Yeah, more so, less so in sort of Collection 26, more so in my actual day job where I'm working a gadget scheme and sort of trying to get through my exams and trying to do my daily process and stuff like that. It can get a bit overwhelming when you see everyone ahead of you's got degrees in maths and they're absolute whizzies at adding things up, or they're amazing at sort of building systems and macros and stuff like that. You've not got a clue what's going on. So it can feel like that, and I think that sometimes I've got a lot of confidence when it comes to Collection 26 and I know what I'm doing and I'm very tunnel vision, but when it comes to like my career and finance, it's like a fish eye gets put on almost, and I don't really know where I'm going to go next, and I don't always, I sort of question my decisions and stuff like that in the workplace, whereas when it comes to Collection 26, I feel very comfortable and I know what I'm doing is like the right thing. But I think when it comes to my work, I get a bit sort of hazed over almost. I get a bit of self-doubt comes in, which I'm not familiar with.
I like how you're comfortable. You don't have it with Collection 26, and I'm not sure if I read it in a podcast or sorry, listened to it in a podcast or read it somewhere. I think it was Seth Godin, who's the famous marketer. He said something like imposter syndrome is good if you're imposter syndrome is really good if you're trying to create something in existence that doesn't already exist, because you should have imposter syndrome because it's not out there already.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you ever think you could patch the 9 to 5 and go all in on Collection 26? Because I guess Morgan Stanley or the investment job is your success is tied to your performance, but there's a specific scope of limit. Whereas in Collection 26, the potential is limitless. It's all the onus is all on you.
Yeah, true. No, I don't know. Like, don't get me wrong, like financially and stuff like that, definitely could. But it would almost put like a pressure on me in the business to perform. Whereas I like being able to put out a t-shirt, and if it doesn't sell, like you're not worried about like feeding myself and the dog. You know what I mean? You're just cool. But also, mate, I do have a genuine passion for finance. I love reading about the markets, studying it as well. And that's almost like a different sort of passion away from, even without the 9 to 5, like I'd still be so interested in that, but to be working in finance, I'm really happy with like working in there, and like that's where I always thought my career would be. So I'm not really ready to like just pack that up, if that makes sense. And in 30 years time, like I see myself working in the bank, but I don't know if I see myself working sort of in Collection 26 when I'm 50 years old. Do you know what I mean?
Never know, mate. You never know. You never know. A question that I prepared for you was if some sort of mogul investor approached Collection 26 with a serious investment. I was going to say 100K, but I'm going to change that to 1 million now. Based on
That's a
your
joke.
performance, would you take it? Would you go full time? And if so, what would you spend on?
I don't know. That's a tough one. You need to have that on the table first of all, I think. But nah, it's tricky, isn't it? I don't know. It's giving up control on how much is it actually worth to you. Like how
Mm.
it's like always like buying my happiness, because my happiness does come from the business. If that makes any sense. And how much is that? But if I still control the business and stuff, it sounds like a good situation. But again, I don't know how they'd feel about working with me. But if I did take it, what would I spend on? Not got a clue. Probably just buy a really nice house somewhere, sort of out the way, buy an alright car. I love a Mercedes GLA. That's what I'd like to drive. Um, it's not too expensive. I don't think it's still like quite a feasible car. If that makes any sense, it's not like ridiculous. Um, but no, I don't know. I like having money, and I like seeing it in accounts and stuff like that more than I do spending it at the moment, which is the sort of mindset shift that I've sort of worked on. So I think I'd probably just sit and watch it grow, and then maybe just set up trusts for charities and stuff like that. That'd be good, leave a legacy. But nah, I don't know. It sort of motivates me to an extent, but not overly
I love
anymore.
I love hearing that framework of your brain. One of the common questions, I put up a poll asking for questions for you, and one of the key themes was, so for example, if you were to restart Collection 26 in 2020, how would you do it differently? Or what was something you first overlooked when starting, and how did you overcome it? I guess they're separate questions. So if you were to restart Collection 26 in 2020, how would you do it differently? Or would you do it differently?
Um, I don't know, because I think looking back, there was a certain like naivety to the way that I was going about things, but I think without that, it might not have been as successful. Like it was a bit. I don't know why I thought that people would buy my t-shirts and stuff like that. Like, it was just a bit. I don't know. I just assumed they would. Um, so I don't know if I'd do that different. I think I was almost. There's a lot of things that I almost sort of stumbled about and not let myself down, but there was mistakes that I made where looking back probably damaged the brand a wee bit. Um, but I don't think I would change that, because I think that I've learned something from like every single mistake basically. And without that, I don't think the brand would be where it is. And it's almost like that part of the brand's almost identity is like this sort of, sometimes we make mistakes. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how to explain it to you, but I think I like the brand to come off quite natural and quite raw, and it's almost like I don't know. It's hard to summarise that.
No. I totally get what you're saying. Like, it personifies a brand. It makes it. It doesn't make it seem like a brand. It makes it seem like a person.
Yeah,
And going back on the terms of mistakes, I would rather learn from someone who failed 1,000 times than someone that got lucky once.
yeah, exactly. Like, I
Uh,
think if everything went right, I'd maybe take it for granted. But because I've been there and been through the sort of hardest times and making hard decisions and sort of being put in like difficult situations, you almost appreciate it now. It's that kind of delayed gratification that the self development people are always talking about, isn't it?
Colin
You've put in
Campbell
that
will
work
love that
back
one.
then, you will. But we've put in that work back then, so what's the point in kind of, I don't know. That's me getting the rewards now, and it always makes me appreciate it. Whereas if I was just kind of made everything too easy, wasn't it?
Was there anything that you first overlooked when starting out? Like, nah, shouldn't focus on that, or nah, that won't happen to me. And then it happened, and how did you overcome it?
Um, First of all, like, I didn't. When I started the brand, I just sort of went with the name Collection 26 without checking if anyone had that name already. And that kind of bit is a bit because the guy who owns the actual Collection 26 it's like some events company that's liquidated now, so it doesn't matter. And I've got the rights to the name, but that was something that I had been worried for a wee while because he was saying he was going to take us to court and all that and get the name stripped. But I was like, I'm not giving up my name. So looking back, I would have maybe did a bit more research. I'd say if anyone's starting a clothing brand, make sure that it's not already a company. Just not worth the stress. And then what else? I don't know. Again, it's that kind of, there's a certain rawness to the way that things were back then and the sort of attitude. I think I'd like to focus on, and I'd still like to try and focus on giving it a sort of having a more feminine range as well. I don't like the idea of like having boys and girls clothes when it comes to t-shirts and hoodies. I think that's a bit like stupid. Like, it's a t-shirt, anyone can wear it, but I think that there's definitely almost like streetwear for girls is there's like very few brands that almost market to that, and it's like girls have to almost buy boys clothes to try and style streetwear at the moment. And I think that's a bit not wrong because it's how the brands are set up, but I think there's like an opportunity there definitely, and it's something that I'm trying to ease my way into, but we'll see what happens. But I'd wish I'd sort of started focusing that a wee while back.
I bet you that's a ruminating idea or ruminating opportunity that probably plays in your brain every single day now, mate.
Yeah, definitely. Just how do you do it, isn't it?
So I think the last question I want to leave on, or the last business related question at least, is how much of your self-worth as a person is tied to the success of Collection 26?
It's a tricky one. Well, pretty much all of it, to be honest. I'd say that when I come to like value myself, the first thing I think of is like my achievements in business and how well it's gone, but also the mistakes I've made as well are almost detrimental to my self worth, I guess. But I think there's also a lot of other elements, like don't look past the fact that like you've been through uni. Although I think, sorry, I think I lost you for a second there.
Oh, good.
So I've been through uni and I've got my 4 years. I've done my degree. Like, that's a success in itself as well. And then where I work in my job, like, I'm very proud to have a job in finance and to be doing quite well at it and sort of ticking off my exams along that way as well. But I think when I'm like sort of almost comparing myself to other businesses, other people who call themselves entrepreneurs, I think that Collection 26 sort of success and not how professional it is, but like how well I've managed to sort of set it up and the processes and just all around like the amount of people that support it and sort of engage with the brand and stuff like that. That's a lot of value to me, and I think that sort of sets me apart from other people in a way.
I love that, mate. Outside of Collection 26 and your graduate day job, what do you do for fun?
Nah, I don't know, just work. Walk the dog, whoever, cook some food. No, literally, like basically consumes like every moment. Like, if I've got a spare half hour and I'm just sitting about, I feel like time's wasted, and that's something that I need to work on as well. But I feel like I'm wasting time, and I'm like, why am I not going through my messages, replying to people just now? I watch the football, obviously. That's maybe the one thing where I can sort of try and switch off, and then obviously going to the gym. So unless I kind of set aside time where I know I won't be able to do business, I won't get that kind of time. But that's a self-inflicted issue.
I love it, mate. I guess we kind of touched on it about people labeling themselves as CEOs and entrepreneurs just because they may
Yeah.
be part of like a forex pyramid scheme. You're a very humble person. You don't jab this into anyone's throat ever. What's your perception on those kind of guys? Do you kind of just scoff and laugh, or?
Yeah, basically, like it's just a nightmare, and I think social media is so good in that everyone has a voice, but it's also dangerous in that everyone has a voice. Whereas if you were in, like, imagine you're back in school and somebody was calling themselves a CEO and they had like, a wax milk company, do you know what I mean? They'd get absolute slagged. Whereas social media, I feel like there's that many people doing it that it like circles up, and before you know it, it's almost like there's absolute companies out there that make a living off of getting people to sign up to like trade forex. None of that, mate. Like there's people who have like degrees, and not even like stuff beyond degrees, like years of experience, and they wouldn't even like think about trying to start trade like forex futures. Like even people trying to trade like derivatives, like you don't even understand like the underlying sort of mechanisms pushing the price or whatever. It's just so irresponsible. I think people pushing that, especially across social media, when I feel like we're at a strange age group because you're almost looking back in a way now at the younger kids, and you're thinking, God, like, thank God I wasn't growing up. Because if I'd seen an ad when I was 16 and it was, oh, I make £1,000 trading forex, I'd been like, oh, sick, let's go get some yen. Do you know what I mean? It's a nightmare. So no, I just think about it like that. But at the same time, like I think there is people out there as well that are genuinely putting in the effort, actually building a business, even if it is like so my personal trainer Jordan, his girlfriend, she has like a baking business, and she is actually putting in the hours, putting in the effort, putting out a product. And I think there's so many people doing that almost gets drowned out now. The amount of people that are coming up with these sort of fake scams or coming up with stupid businesses, it's just like affiliate marketing. Do you know what I mean? I think it'd be quite hard for me to start Collection 26 as well at this stage. I think that it's almost like so oversaturated with businesses at the moment, and it's so hard to tell what's a legitimate business and what's just somebody trying to make some quick money.
Yeah. And to revert back on your first point, especially people who work in a corporate job, we know what a CEO is. Like we know what a board of
Yeah,
directors look
exactly.
like. That definitely discredits these guys when like a guy
Yeah,
that's
it's
basically flogging Avon
ridiculous.
is a CEO these days.
Yeah, it's mad. Like you can't. It's just stupid, innit? Like now that Collection 26 is like a limited company and stuff, I'm like technically a director, but you don't see it in my Instagram bio. I just put fucking guy who runs a business. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't even like the term entrepreneur these days because it's so associated with just these absolute fannies. Do you know what I mean? Kind of about social media. It's just it does get me worked up, to be fair. But
You'll always be the director of Cooking with Jock. I miss that
exactly,
series, mate. I
nobody can
miss
take
that.
that away from me. That was good back in. That was
Yeah, I
when I had
loved it.
more time.
I loved it.
Yeah,
And
that
then
was fun.
Jock's kit room as well. That
Yeah, that
exists.
was good for a while.
What
That
was
was
that?
I was like, I got to a strange stage of Collection 26 where I was like, right, this is going off, but I didn't quite have the means to be bringing out so many new designs. But I was also really into sort of football tops, and I was trying to find a sweet spot between them, and I couldn't. And I thought, right, cool, I'll start sort of selling football tops on the side, and it was really good. I was making money. It was really good profit margins, actually, that kind of stuff. But again, like that's without having to pay VAT, corporate tax, and all that. So nowadays it wouldn't be as good. But I liked it, like getting the football tops and stuff like that, and just sort of flipping them around. And it was like quite raw again, and it felt almost like, I know Gary Vee's like one of the worst guys on the internet, but he goes on about the hustle and the process, and that's how it felt like. I was hustling, I was putting in the process. It was sales over DMs. I was actually chatting to the customers, and I really like that because with Collection 26, you don't know somebody's ordered something until you get notification through, and I feel like that whole sales process is missing. But with the football tops, you could talk to people and try and sort of talk them into buying extras and stuff like that, which I really liked. And I do sort of miss. I used to work in a price rent a car. You can sell insurance and stuff like that, and I really enjoyed the sales process there as well. And it's something that I miss, and it's something I've got a real appetite for as well. So that was good. But again, it just took up so much time. Went back to uni for my fourth year, and I thought, right, leave it there. But I've seen a lot of pages pop up doing it now. So again, I think that opportunity is sort of closed up.
Yeah, I like what you said about how personable it was because, like you said, with Collection 26, it's just an email and you probably only get people messaging you if they're dissatisfied or wondering where
Yeah,
their
exactly.
order is.
You only hear for the customers with problems. It's quite rare you get a message from somebody that says, "I've just got my top and it's sick. I love it." But when you do get those, it makes it all worth it.
I can imagine, mate. Well, it was an absolute pleasure to have you on today, Jock. Where can the people find you?
Obviously, my social medias, find us on Instagram, mainly just Jock Rintoul, and then obviously Collection 26 Glasgow. Not really on anything else, to be honest.
No TikToks these days.
That's us. There is a Collection 26 Glasgow TikTok, but I don't know how to work it, and it's not. It's just a whole new world out there. That's a big fear for me, is TikTok taking off. Nobody uses Instagram. Looked at TikTok marketing, but big companies seem to have jumped on that pretty fast. So I don't know if it's how cost effective it is, but again, that's something I'll eventually need to get on board with. But I've not got a clue how TikTok works. So.
We might have seen Jock go from 20k followers to 50k followers on Instagram this year, but I think 2021 is the year of people dancing like 26 TikTok.
There is, I don't know, it's definitely, TikTok's definitely pushing it, man. There's a girl wore one of our t-shirts on our TikTok and it went crazy. I was getting so many messages, do you have a tee I've seen in TikTok? And I was like, oh, what is TikTok? Do you know what I mean? What do you mean? And since then, I actually collaborating with her going into January. She does illustrations and stuff like that, so she's going to be doing a few tees with us. So in that sense, I'm trying to push into TikTok, but I don't know how to naturally grow that without just putting up photos of t-shirts. It seems a bit cringe as well, TikTok. There's a lot of these entrepreneurs that we were talking about, you know what I mean? So
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing it, mate, and it was a pleasure to have you on today.
yeah, definitely. Thanks so much for having us on. It was a pleasure for me.
Thanks, buddy. Speak soon.
Speak soon.